Well, Empretec is doing capacity building, especially creating entrepreneurial, competencies and inspiring the behavior, of entrepreneurship around people. And so, previously, the idea is that entrepreneurs should merely be businessmen or people who are running the businesses. But the truth is that entrepreneurship should be a way of life. It's how you live. And whether you're working for somebody or you're working for your own, business, the behavior should be constant. And that way, you find that the maximum, would be derived from whatever it is you're doing. And the business, the productivity would be thereby, enhanced by the fact that you are putting in the right, ingredients, as it were, towards whatever it is you're doing. And it's irrespective of whether it's your business or someone else's business, it should be the same. Different. We started with SMEs, because the program, like is an UNCTAD initiative on private sector support initiative of United Nations for developing countries and economies in transition. And so when the program was installed in Nigeria in 2002, even though as at now the program is running about 33 countries around the world, a couple in Latin America, in Asia, in India, and we have 11 countries in Africa where the program is currently running. But then, from inception of the program, what the focus was to work with SMEs and help, build their entrepreneurial skills to enhance their production to enable them to compete globally. And that was the starting point. But thereafter, we have since, expanded the program to include, micro enterprises. We've worked with people, unemployed youths. We have worked with, all sectors. Now, in fact, the program now have included intrapreneurship, that's corporate entrepreneurship, where staff of corporate organizations are also encouraged to act like entrepreneurs within the corporate setting. Some are sponsored by other people to attend the course. Some pay for the courses, and so you have a mix in the class. And in any case, we do have another program, like I said, for the unemployed or the people who can't afford at all. So it's like a bit of taking from here to support the other. 40% of the program are for women, and so 40% of all beneficiaries around, that come under the program are women, and so to that extent, we do have, a good number of women under the program, as well as for youths. We have some programs which are targeted specifically for youths to help build their capacities also in the area in terms of actual. Working with them, identifying businesses and skills that they have or are interested in, getting them attached to existing businesses where they can learn and perfect those particular, apprenticeship. Thereafter, bringing them into the classroom and still offering them the opportunity to learn what have been originally designed by UNCTAD for SMEs. But the program, we have been able to step it down to the micro-enterprise level, and so they are also able to benefit from it. But beyond that, also parastatals and other government agencies, as well as oil companies. Like I said, entrepreneurship is a behavior, and it's a way of thinking and a way of doing things. So if those behaviors can be identified, then everyone should aspire towards, acquiring those same tendencies and behaviors. Well, there are various training, programs. The flagship program, I call it, is the one after which the program has been named, which is, Empretec. We have an Empretec training workshop, besides several other training programs that we are running. And the Empretec training workshop is a workshop that is consistent in 33 countries because it's a training model which was developed from the behavior, from a research that was conducted by a Harvard professor in McNulty on the behavior of successful entrepreneurs. And so that program is 6 days, and during that 6 days, the SME or the business owner is expected to do quite a bit, it's reinforced, they're able to identify those behaviors, they're able to recognize them, they're able to now put them into practice, and so to practice it, they have to run a business of their own, and these businesses allow them to put into, in a hands-on way, what they have been taught. And so they can do their business plan with the business they are running during that 6-day workshop. They can do, keep their accounts during that same period. They're able to advertise their product during that same period. They're able to network. They're able to, show how they have calculated their risk. They're able to show how they set their goals before they even started their businesses. They're able to show their level of efficiency and how they're improving their productivity by enhancing their efficiency and all that. Their independence, all the skills that have been identified in successful entrepreneurs are expected to be brought, into play during that 1 week. Well, because the course itself is highly subsidized, there's a selection process, and we advertise, and there's a pre-selection interview. Part of the reason for the pre-selection interview, it's because you want to be sure that if something is being subsidized, then it's made available to people who will make the best use of it. So you do not waste, resources. And so also you want to identify those who have some, reasonable level of entrepreneurial, skills. And so during the pre-selection interview, that brings out some of these, key information that are required to make the selection. And you find that there's a marked difference between where there has been a thorough selection and where there hasn't been, a selection at all. And this had nothing to do with your educational background. Of course, you have a mix and of the educational background of people coming for the workshop, but some of you with high entrepreneurial skills or competencies as they come at the very beginning may not be as educated as some others. While entrepreneurship may not be taught in all schools, or it's just beginning to be taught in schools, it's something that's born in some people. Some people are born with it, while others can now learn it in school or in courses that are now available around. It is a spirit. It is a very powerful spirit. I think. Well, but the Spirit of God itself is, a spirit of entrepreneurship, because he said when he created us, he said we should go, we should multiply, we should be fruitful, we should, take dominion and subdue, which means to break barriers, to add value. And so every human being, I believe, should be adding value some way. And entrepreneurship is all about value creation. And that's why there's a difference between the entrepreneur and the businessman. The businessman will just be doing his business and be good, but the entrepreneur is always looking for how can I add value, how can I improve on what is there, and that's the clear distinction. And that's, value creation is what, brings about the difference between the entrepreneur or the person who have an entrepreneurial spirit and the other person. So for this country, I would want to see such level of entrepreneurial, inspiration around people that it will change how we see things, because if everyone in this country is thinking of adding value in their own little way, trying to move, whatever situation they're in from one point to the other, I believe that, it will definitely have the multiplier effect in the positive way for the country. So I'm looking at building our country, our great nation. one of the areas that I see, apart from the fact that it will actually, of course, SMEs are the ones that, push the GDPs of countries, and they are the ones that employ the largest number of, labor. So yes, if we can get the SMEs to have better entrepreneurial competencies, it will, trickle down to, a better built up, a stronger economy, and all of that. Those benefits are there. But beyond that, it will also change the mindset. It will also change how people do things. People will no longer, if we have more people thinking like entrepreneurs, then what will happen is that, people no longer will be satisfied, with less than what, less than the best. And so when you step up, you will find yourself, oh, look, I should improve on what I've done. And so, we just find a better Nigeria. Well, true. I like the slogan that you can never fight alone. Nobody can fight alone. The moment you say there's a fight, you must have somebody you're fighting with. And together we can make a difference. And so I'm glad there are lots of, the government is doing, its own part. The civil society is doing their own part. There are lots of NGOs around that they're doing various types of work. We just, hope that we'll continue to be more committed and have more people on board to continue on this track. Information awareness is very, very important. A lot of the, a lot of the mortality we hear about, could be avoided, especially even in infants and children. The medical team, encourage them and tell them, look, we don't want you to come to this hospital because your child is ill. We don't even want your child ill. And these are, a few of the things you need to do to avoid your child from being ill. Apart from those tidbits, it also gives us time to check the developmental milestone of the child, because there are kids that may not be growing at the rate they should be growing. So when they come, they take their vital measurements, they check their weights, are they speaking, are their ears okay, are their vision okay, because there are some eye situation or eye conditions that need to be addressed before the child is 5 years old, for instance. The child may need to wear an eye patch for 6 months or something. Now, if that is not detected before the child is 4, that child will develop, something that could even lead to blindness. Meanwhile, that could have been picked up. Even with children who later have problems with autism and all that, if it's picked on time, then it can be addressed. And various childhood illnesses and congenital situations that could be avoided if identified on time. So during our Well Baby Clinic, that is done. And so the wave is there for the mothers to know that, look, my child does not have to fall ill to go to her. So we provide that environment for them. Then at the hospital, the neonatal unit is our focus, so to give every child, newborn child, an opportunity to live. So that newborn baby unit, is also collaborating with the teaching hospital and the general hospital, in the newborn baby, the neonatal care. In HIV/AIDS, we do work with mother-to-child prevention and also ensuring that the mothers do have a first-class facility to be taken care of during pregnancy. Cancer is about 90% treatable if it's detected early. Now, most cancers are so. If you therefore have a situation where if only it had been identified early, the person would live, then why not let people know? Because that's the best form of prevention, for people to know. Initially, lots of people did not know that this is the situation, and so our population is huge in this country, and we need to do a lot of work to create that awareness, to let people know, look, try and do self-breast examination, go have your mammograph, and to know, because when you increase their chances of living or surviving. And the same for most for most cancers. But our focus have been, because we're a child, is CS done, which is Child Survival and Development Organization. Our focus is children, and like you said, you really cannot work with a child without making sure you're caring for the mother and father to a reasonable extent. But our focus have been the children and the mother. And the two cancers that affect women the most, is breast and cervical. So the program has been expanded to include cervical cancer. And for childhood cancer, it's really sad because lots of people are not aware, that children also have cancer. But truly, children do have cancer. And while for adults, from the point of, in fact, in the West now, over 70% to 80% of people who are diagnosed of, cancer could, even like breast cancer, can live for another 5 to 10 or even more years from after they are diagnosed. For a child, it is never so, because the cancer is a result of the cells in the body, losing its growth control mechanism. Every cell is controlled by growth, it's controlled by its interaction to other cells, even how long it lives is controlled, right? And for some reason, which is not explicable except, some cancers that can be attributable to the environment, as in smoking and, some other issues. most of the cancers, the cell just loses their control mechanism and begins to grow abnormally in sizes and shapes. They go beyond their boundaries. And what then happens is that, for a child, where their cells are already growing at such a fast pace, if you see a child, that's having, cancer now, in 2 months' time, the deterioration is so great that you can't reconcile how come, it happened that fast. But that's because they're children. And so while adults can perhaps, fight it for a much longer, period of years, for a child within 3 years, they really have deteriorated badly. So that also, is a reason why we're having this work, the Run for a Cure, to create awareness about the importance of, all the screening, and to also raise money to help with treatment of people who would need treatment. If you look at the childhood cancer situation, the awareness, as in all other cases of cancer, have remained really, really key, for us to become much more aware of the situation. The cost of treatment is also high, so we need to help each other, in providing, support for treatment support, for ourselves, and also, to ensure that we have early correct diagnosis. Sometimes the diagnoses are wrong, then you start treatment, there are lots of Nigerians who will tell you, oh, I was diagnosed for that, or we know people who have passed on, and yet they were diagnosed for something wrong. Some were treated for 15 years for pneumonia, only to discover that, it was cancer. So all of that had been, and then you have situation also where, for childhood cancer, for instance, the treatment is interrupted, or they are brought to treatment because they can no longer afford it, or sometimes it's even money for transport to go to the hospital that could stop them from going to get their treatment. So it's just key that we all realize that this is there. It's our country. We're there to fight every challenge we encounter together, and that way we all come out stronger people in the country. Thank God for being God, because I believe there's nothing we do that He hasn't given us the enablement to do. I wouldn't say it's me, because I just discovered I'm doing it, so I had nothing to do with why I'm doing it. And I believe that's where it comes from, that we should give to people who are not who are not in the same position as we are. And then we will be fulfilling the purpose for which we have it in the first place. Whatever we're giving to, it's not for ourselves alone. It's for us to, use. Some people will always be class preferred. They will always be a leader. So you are, to an extent, a leader in that context, that you have been given, the opportunity to have some resource, whether it's intellectual, it is financial, it's whatever strength you can share with others. I think we should. Well, because there's no alternative for me, there's no alternative. You can't stop working, you can't stop trying, you can't stop giving, and it's, there could be discouragement, but the moment those situations arrive, you know that you must persevere to overcome, and like the first, example I gave you, citing from, Genesis, in the Bible, where it said that we're supposed to be fruitful, we're supposed to multiply, we're supposed to subdue. You cannot subdue something that does not have resistance. And so each time I face an obstacle, I say, look, subdue, and so I must overcome, and if there is no obstacle, you won't have to overcome. So you just encourage yourself, and you keep going. And but I think, by and large, the passion to do it, keeps you on. And when you see the joy, when you see and when you see what you have done to lives, like And the guys who were doing the Keke Marwa in Keke Napep in Calabar, we empowered about 50 of them with 50 vehicles. And at the time there were just 50 of them, and they had 50 vehicles. They were returning 4,000 naira a day, right? And that was about 200,000 for the 50 vehicles. Now, before I knew it, as at last year in November, they showed me they had purchased 300 vehicles, and each one was about over 250,000 naira. So you can imagine what their business had translated to. In fact, now their turnover annually is over 3 billion. And these are unemployed youths. At the time they started this business, they have expanded. They have over 2,000 vehicles now in their fleet. They have, because each vehicle is managed by maybe 2 or 3 or 4 persons, and they have employed amongst themselves over 4,500. So here you have 50 vehicles translating to employment for 4,500 people by unemployed people who were once unemployed. Then you can't get tired. You can only just do it in such an exciting and happy way, because you can see the life transformation here. That's going on. That's going on. Not only have they done that, not only are their businesses doing well, and they say, I said, what did they wrote down their pegs are the personal entrepreneurial competencies that they were taught. That is the one that was explained to them at their level, and they're practicing it. So it is like it has become part of their behavior, and the business have just flourished.